Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Jim Rohn. My friends, for those of you who find yourself in shape or have been in shape earlier in your life, you know how you got in shape and how you stayed in shape. That was, again, just a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And for us, for learning how to trade and becoming a charting master, a master trader, investor, how do you do that? We just ask 10 to 15 minutes each and every day, building those muscles. It's like going to the gym. So use that analogy if you have to understand what it takes. 10 to 15 minutes, that's all we ask. If you would just be with us each and every day, you can't do it on the weekends. This is not the school model where you can cram. This is like the farm model where you have to plant the seed. The gym model, you have to go. You have to build up that muscle group. The farmer model where you plant the seed, you water it, you cultivate it, you get rid of the weeds, and it produces after a while. How long? I can't tell you that, but the beautiful thing is when you do master the charts, you will make up for all the time you ever spent. Everything is down for today, but 20-year bonds. Let's jump into the S&P 500. Has this not just been beautiful? We saw things rotating over this last week, and this week they just continue to hammer on down, 0.59% down for the day. You can just look at the two-day chart and see the way things are cranking down. If you look at the half-day chart, now this is, we weren't at the end there. I was like, well, something's odd. I don't see the line. Now I do. But as we look at things, we can see that this week again is, just moving on down. Hopefully we're going to get to average or higher volume. We're just now a little over halfway through the week. We've made it through hump day, and we will see how the market continues to move. Did you jump into this trade going down? Did you set your profit and loss bands? Are at one-time ATR on the two-day chart? Did you put the widget in? That, of course, is right here. It would be the short widget. Did you get into the opposite of the S&P 500, which is SH? Remember, it is the ProShare short. There's plenty of short funds, inverse funds. This is the single inverse. It's the one that we practice, and of course, it's been going up as the S&P has been going down. Just a little thing we talk about here over and over again, inverse funds. In fact, I'm going to put at the end of today's video, inverse funds, how to make money when markets crash. For those of you who haven't taken that before, you will understand a little more about SHPSQ, TBF, again, the inverse funds that we use to capture down movement. Now, you can do that also with puts and call, with puts, right? And those are options. And if you're interested in options, we've got a great training. It is a 3-part series. The first thing you get when you sign up at any of the 3 levels as a Patreon member is you get Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way. Think about that. Now, we see the S&P moving down below the weekly trend line on the 2-day, well below it on the half-day. Look at all that volume. So things moving in the right direction. What about NASDAQ 100? It was down even more than the S&P 500 as it has heated up 1.22%. We had it sliding sideways, that doji last week. We had all that energy and volume, of course, as the up move was dying off. And of course, we have things heading down quite nicely, well below the weekly trend line on the 2-day and the half-day. These last 2.5 days really jamming down, which is great, which is what we want to see when the charts lead us that way. Now, we have seen the increasing candle size as the 20-year U.S. government bond ETF, known as TLT, has been gaining energy heading down. It did bounce up some today. I looked at this earlier. I want to share this with you. You can see these things sometimes, and it can be helpful to see them and to pay attention to them. And I wanted to bring up for you the 2-day chart. Now, what do we see? Well, we we see things here. Let me go back. It's just not showing up. Oh, it's the forgive me, it's the half-day chart. I'll just show you from the screen. We saw where things started to roll over. You can see it translated here. And the nice thing about the way we have this set up, you notice this dashed line, no matter where I am on the half-day, the 2-day, or the weekly, you can see that the time frame that I go through, it's still reflecting where it is on all three charts. So you can see as we were getting ready for this latest rollover after sliding sideways here on the weekly for several weeks, when this 3-week rollover that's underway started, things moved down. They moved down for, 4, 5, 6, and then up for 2, then down for 4, up for 2, down for 4, up for 2, down for 4, up for 2. Curious if that's going to happen again at some point. That down movement is going to end, but when I see these little patterns that arise where it goes down for 2 days, up for a day, down for 2 days, up for a day, down for 2 days, up for a day, I find that fascinating, and that can be really helpful to you if you see that pattern continuing to repeat, or after it's repeated several times, if it comes to a stark stop. I'm always looking for patterns that I can recognize. Of course, the most beautiful pattern of all is where you have a chart that clearly delineates between down movement on the weekly chart and up movement, where it just rocks back and forth between green to red to green to red to green to red. Is that not the perfect chart for us? Where you can literally see the candles go to green and they stay green long enough that you can reap a wonderful harvest. Then they revert over to where you can jump into puts if it's going down, or if you want to get into options, or you can get into an inverse fund if it actually has an inverse fund. Otherwise, you're stuck only with puts, or you can just sell, let it move down, and then buy again. And when we see charts that routinely do that cleanly, whether it's an ETF or it is a stock, again, when you see that, and sometimes stocks and ETFs will go through patterns where they give you that and then they stop. And then it might take a few months, a few years before it starts again. So there are definite criteria to the stocks and ETFs you want to track, and those that after they stop moving cleanly, you just step away from. Maybe you check on every few months to see if they've started discernible patterns again. So enough about TLT. We see TLT again, 3 weeks of down movement. We do have what might be a day of things popping up and then potentially rolling back over, going down. Another thing to keep in mind when you see patterns repeating like that is if you perhaps missed a jumping in point and you want to find a jumping in point, sometimes those little up movements in an overall down pattern can give you times that you can jump in, and maybe, or if you're already in and you want to add to a position, you might consider adding to a position during those time periods that things pop up. Or if, again, it's a move where things are going up and you have rollbacks where it pulls back and you can jump in and, again, add to a position or perhaps jump into a position for the first time if you missed the initial move. Doesn't always work that way, but something for you to consider. So we're still short on 20-year bonds. What about gold? Gold pulling back some for the day. We saw gold pull back, 2 days ago? We saw it pull back about a day and a half prior to that. And then we have to go back a while to where it was sliding sideways. But again, gold just been jamming up. We aren't hitting the highs of last week yet. We are still long gold. We're still nicely above on the half day and the 2 day, and gold is going in the right direction. Lastly, nice down day for HODL, down 2.80%, 24-hour Bitcoin down 4.14%. But we are seeing Bitcoin pull back. We want to see that. We hit the top. Things really blew off steam that week after Bitcoin hit its high on the week beginning March the 11th, pulled back nicely on the 18th, and then stuttered, wasn't able to get the energy, and now is dropping over. I'm excited that hopefully things will pull back for a couple of weeks, maybe longer. But again, we will be looking for a pattern to establish itself so we might be able to get in and then ride things back up. That's where we are as we end the day. We always love to hear from you. CW@chartingwealth.com. Thanks so much for being with us. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. God bless, my friends. All the best.